Thank you very much. So I put together a little presentation that it was a couple of years ago that we did this one, but got some help here this time. So, so again, my name is Russell Grimes. I'm chief here at Sealy Police Department. I've been chief for a whopping 2 months, but I've been with the city for a little over 7 years. Got a total of 32 years in law enforcement, background in safety and security and investigations. So this is kind of common sense, but you know, sometimes we all forget to think about some of these things as the holidays approach. We got our minds on a lot of different things. We're looking forward to, you know, the Christmas tree and the kids and opening presents, and we're not thinking about our own personal safety sometimes. So that's very important all the time, but especially this time of year when it seems like some of the criminals want to target these areas when they know people are distracted and things like that. So just a quick reminder on a lot of personal safety issues here. So if you're going out by yourself, let somebody know where you're going. I know a lot of people nowadays have their phones where they can track each other and things like that, and that's good. But it's good also to just keep in touch. Let somebody know where you're going to be at what time, so if you miss showing up, they can check on you. That's kind of key there. And if you're shopping after dark, it's always good to go in pairs or more. Make sure you park in well-lighted areas, well-traveled areas. But be alert, and one of the key things of that is just to be confident and look around and be aware of your surroundings when you're walking out with your hands full of things from the store. You know, have your keys ready and look. If you see somebody walking around, make eye contact with them, because a lot of criminals are looking for that person that's distracted. They're looking for that person that's got their head down, they're fumbling with their keys. They can surprise you and catch you off guard a lot of times. So just be aware of your surroundings. Don't overload yourself with packages. Make several trips if you need to. You know, if you do encounter someone and they demand your purse or something like that, it's best just to give it to them. Don't try to be the hero in some cases and fight them for it, because they're ready for you and you're not most times. So let it go. Just, you know, notify the police after the fact and just be a good witness. Be someone that is alert. You know, if you catch a license plate on a car, write it down as fast as you can, because sometimes you'll forget it over time. And if there's witnesses nearby, you know, ask them if they'll go what they saw and if they're willing to talk to us, and have them stick around. Sometimes, you know, when you get home, you'll put the gifts and valuables out, and you know, you'll open the window and show off your Christmas tree and pile everything up. But that also invites people that are window shopping and looking for an easy target. So our advice is to keep these things out of sight and away from the windows. If you're traveling, ask a neighbor to watch your house. If you have an alarm system, check it, make sure everything's up to date. Use it. You know, be sure you set it. Sometimes we go over there, well, I have an alarm, and you know, just we forgot to set it. So use it. If you have newspapers, deliveries, mailed, delivered to your house, either have somebody pick that up for you, or you can call the post office, have them put that on hold, or the newspaper put that on hold. What that does is just tell somebody that no one's been here in a while, and as they're driving by and they see 4 or 5 newspapers in your driveway, chances are no one's home, and they know that they can break in and out of your home without being caught most times. So we also suggest to take a good inventory of all your valuables. This is a good time of year for that reminder. You know, if you have things of value, take photos of it. You know, if you have serial numbers, write all those down. You know, we get reports all the time, people, you know, this priceless heirloom, you know, or whatever it is, but they don't have a picture of it. I mean, we can't prove, if we were to find it, that it belongs to you, other than you saying, yes, that's mine. It's like, so help us, you know, number one, catch them, solve the crime, but also recover some of this property. And things are getting better, technology, I'll talk about some of that in a little bit, but you know, if you don't have a serial number on there, it's good to engrave it. If possible, put your driver's license number on there. Put TX or whatever state your driver's license is in and write it out. So if it's found somewhere, if we stop a car at random and there's this property that looks out of place and we're looking at it, we can run the serial numbers on it. If you don't have it recorded, it's not entered into the state or the national system, that doesn't do us any good. If you have a driver's license engraved on the back of it, we can run that, get your phone number and call you and say, hey, are you missing, you know, this, whatever the property is. And, oh yeah, it's been reported stolen to such and such police department. That helps us recover some of that stuff. Otherwise, it'll end up at a pawn shop or somewhere and no one knows, even if the serial number is still intact. We do offer some residential frequent patrols during the holidays or anytime if you're traveling. And you're going to be gone for an extended period of time, you can come in and sign up, let us know when you're leaving, when you're going to be back. You know, there's a form to fill out and tell us who's a contact in case of emergency, what cars are going to be there, what lights you may have left on, things like that. We'll go by there and check things out for you while you're gone. So as I mentioned, you know, the holidays coming up. That's just an open invitation in crowded places, shopping malls and things like that. We talked about being alert and being aware of your surroundings. So if you notice unattended, this is for like large shopping malls and things like that. If you notice unattended packages, things like that, just let security know. I wouldn't try to get it and find it. You know, it could be a decoy, it could be some sort of, who knows what, you know, to trap you or bait you. Some other way to kind of make contact with you. Be aware of suspicious people or if they're exhibiting erratic and nervous behavior. There's a lot of people out there that intentionally will do you harm, but there's also a lot of people that suffer from mental illnesses and things like that who unintentionally could do you harm. And so just to protect yourself, be aware of that and keep yourself at a distance. Notify someone, but keep yourself protected at all times. And if you notice any suspicious chemical smells, pungent odors, things like that, just alert security or police. Years ago, they used to go up and try to sell in the parking lots the perfumes, and they would spray all that. And you would see, you know, every so often, you know, someone would get sprayed with something that was toxic, and either they were just trying to hurt somebody or they were trying to take them with them or something like that. We haven't had anything like that here locally, but just be aware. I know a lot of people travel outside of the area for shopping. And anytime you see somebody tampering with security equipment, cameras, surveillance equipment, things like that, be sure to report that because, you know, there's a reason, right? They don't want to be caught doing something. It may not be that day, it could be the next day. So just let somebody know, and that way it can be fixed. Another good suggestion would be to bring only the cash and cards that you're going to use while you're shopping. I know maybe all of them, but
did you talk to my husband?
Don't have everything in one bundle, like your social security card, your passport, other IDs and things like that, because if your wallet is stolen, that's a fast track to get your identity stolen, and then they can compromise credit cards and bank accounts and things like that. Make sure you have your cell phone, if you have your cards on your phone, you know, the pictures of your cards on your phone. I know one time I had to go through and delete some of those off of mine. So that information is vital, and so your cell phone can be a target. It used to be just the wallet or the purse, but your cell phone can also be the target of a theft. And you know, make sure you've got your credit card numbers and things recorded elsewhere, so if they are stolen, you can call right away and have those shut off. Sometimes there's apps and things you can handle that if you still have your phone. So there again, it mentions strong, confident body language, eye contact. You know, if you're walking through the parking lot and someone comes towards you or whatever, it's best to make eye contact. They don't want somebody that has a good picture of what they look like. you know, be a good witness, you know, if you're gonna be out there, especially if you're gonna be alone. Make eye contact with them, hey, how's it going, happy holidays, whatever you wanna tell them. And likely they'll go on to the next person and it protects you, but just to keep that in mind. And if you carry a wallet or cash, purse, keep it in a hard to reach spot, especially while you're out shopping. Vehicle burglaries. Just don't leave anything visible in the car. You know the old saying, what was it, take, hide, lock. You know, we still see people that don't lock their cars at night. I get it, but you don't want to be that target of opportunity, because they're, believe it or not, they'll just walk through neighborhoods and apartment complexes, shopping centers, just pulling on door handles and seeing which ones are open. And if your car is unlocked, whether you have anything in there or not, they're going to go through everything and tear it all up looking for something. So, but a lot of times, if they see something they really want, whether it's locked or not, they'll break the window out and take it. So if you hide it or take it with you, keep it out of view from people. Don't leave your engines running. Lock packages in the trunk. If you're out shopping and have to make multiple trips, don't just throw them in the back seat, put them in the trunk. They also suggest move your car. If you're going in a mall, don't just keep going in and out, in and out. If they're watching you go in and put things in your car, they'll wait for you to go back in and then break into your car. So get in the car like you're leaving and then drive around closer to the next door and park over there. And sometimes that's a hassle, but it is what it is to try to protect your property and keep things safe. The holiday season just gives rise to the threats. You know, shopping malls and lots of crowded places are just target-rich environments for these thieves. They can blend in with everybody that's out there and, you know, watch you from a distance, see, you know, that you're not being that alert, or that you're doing some of these things that we're talked about, you know, not keeping your keys ready, and just wait for the opportunity to either rob you or break into your car. Or one of the newest trends over the last few years is given a term called jugging. And if you've heard of that, it's usually from a bank or an ATM machine where you've taken out a large cash sum, and they follow you home or wherever you stop, and then they rob you at that point. But that can happen leaving, you know, with packages and things like that. If you go to the store or you're out shopping for Christmas and you've got a whole trunk full of things, they'll follow you home and wait. And if you pull into an area where they feel like they have an opportunity, they'll either wait until you go in and break into your car, or they'll rob you in the driveway. So just be aware of your surroundings while you're driving. If you feel like you're being followed or you see a car that's following you, call the police department, call the sheriff's department, give them your location. Don't go directly to your house. You can go directly to the police department and we can meet you there, or we can follow you or meet up with you on the road somewhere. It's better to be safe than to be sorry, but things like this do happen, and you know, we can take a report and look for the perpetrator down the road later, but it doesn't keep you from either getting hurt, robbed, or your property stolen from you. So if you call and we follow you up there and the car just drives off like nothing happened, no harm, no foul. It's not, I mean, that's what we're here for. So please give us a shout. So online shopping is another scenario that's really prevalent. If you do a lot of business online, they suggest shopping with companies that you're familiar with. We had this conversation this morning at the office with a couple that I was able to get $55 back from the place that I ordered from that I didn't get my property. But I used PayPal, so I was able to file a claim with them. They investigated it, resolved it, and sent me my money back. You know, you see that all the time. You know, there's not so good places to order from, and it seems like a great deal, especially when you're scrolling late at night on Facebook or TikTok or something, and you see this. And so if you don't recognize the company, or it's not a reputable company or something like that, just be cautious. There's secure websites that you can make sure that they're not, fly-by-night scam artists and things like that. Check your credit card and bank statements often, like daily, especially if you're shopping daily, because they'll blend it in. They'll do a small purchase if they get in there. And you may not even notice it on your balance, but it'll be in there, and next thing you know, your bank account or your credit card's maxed out. And if you catch it fast enough, sometimes the credit card companies will reimburse you. The banks will put the money back and file it on insurance, but these guys are still getting their money, and we want to try to stop that. And definitely report any of the fraudulent charges to your bank, credit bureaus, and to the police. A lot of times, people will call the bank and they get their money back, so they're okay. They don't worry about it, but we want to know. We want to take those reports. It helps us see what's going on. It helps us, and there's a good chance with all the different tools and technology that we've been getting that we will be able to track down some of these people that we weren't able to in the past. So we want to hold them accountable as much as we can and try to prevent some of this stuff. But a lot of it is happening from overseas, and so that's kind of where we stop, and we report that up to the federal law enforcement investigative units. But the best advice would be to not let it happen to you. Don't become a victim. I mentioned jugging a while ago. We haven't had much of that here. Over the past few years, we've had a few cases. We were able to catch one of them that happened here. He kept coming back, and so we set up. We got the information. We used video surveillance, and we got a good suspect vehicle. And just so happened, Captain Risky in the back was able to spot that suspect setting up, waiting on a potential victim, and we were able to get him pulled over and got him arrested. He had been charged with this multiple times over or across the state, and so he just finds an area that works and keeps coming back. So just be aware, and this particular person would leave the bank and go to a shopping center and park, and they were breaking into the cars there. That's what was going on. So from a business standpoint, we talk about, as an individual, if you get robbed, but if there's a robbery at a place of business, it mentions again, don't try to be the hero. Take no action that would jeopardize your own safety or the safety of someone else. These people, they only want the money or the property. They're trying to get out of there. They're not there to be there very long, so don't keep them, don't delay them, don't say I'm going to stall them till the police get there. Just comply with them, get them out of there as fast as you possibly can, and we'll do what we can do afterwards. There's a lot we can do. We can start with video surveillance. If there's an alarm that's tripped, that'll get us on the way faster, that helps. But there again, make sure your alarms are working, make sure your video surveillance cameras are working, make sure they're in good shape. But the primary focus is your safety. So we'll do the investigation after the fact. But there's a few tips and trips on here. Make your mental notes. Look at the person if you can. Make a mental note of their race, age, height, sex, clothing, complexion, hair. Something's going to stand out on that list. Anything unusual about them, scars, tattoos, speech, number of accomplices, if you see them, and how they left the scene, which direction to travel, were they in a vehicle, were they in a spot where you can get a look at the license plate, write it down as fast as you can, or if you have cameras, check those cameras, have somebody there that's able to check the camera so we can get that information out to our folks as fast as possible. If there's any conversations with the suspects that they may have between each other, sometimes they'll mention a name or a nickname or a location or a vehicle or something like that. All that's useful information for us. If they have a weapon, what that looks like. You know, if it's a rifle or a handgun or something like that, the color of it, if it's a silver or black or whatever. All that information comes into play, you know, during our investigation. But after, have someone ready and call 911 immediately. And have that person stay on the phone with the dispatcher to give all the information, because they're going to be asking a lot of questions as we're en route over there. And some of that stuff they may have to ask other people that are there. So if there's witnesses, you know, ask all the witnesses to stay there until the police get there, and if they can't or won't, ask them for a contact phone number, and we can follow up with them at a later time. And protect the scene. Don't immediately start going through all the stuff and touching it, because if they did not wear gloves, then there's a good chance that we'll be able to get some fingerprints or something like that will help us identify who this is. As far as burglaries occur, burglary prevention for businesses, you can reduce your vulnerability to burglary, making sure that you've done all that you can do to give the appearance of a property that practices good security measures. You know, things like lighting, crime prevention through environmental design is a big buzzword in the security world, but that is what's listed here. You know, you want to make sure your landscaping is nice looking, but make sure it doesn't hide potential people that can wait on you to step out in the back or in a dark unlit area. You know, if you have windows, you want to close and lock them, but if you can, you know, if you have gates or things like that, make sure you use those as well. Check all your lights, make sure they're all working. If you have a safe, if you put money in a safe in your business at night, you know, make sure it's secure, and if not, then I wouldn't leave it there. Valuables, don't leave valuables in plain sight. Just like a vehicle, if they're shopping, if they can look through the window and see, you know, that the cash register drawer is wide open, and there's not going to be any money left in there, so let them move on down the road. Okay. So the heading on this one says planning for a robbery. We don't ever want to be robbed, but we want to be ready in case something happens, okay? So this is something that no person should ever have to experience. However, it's better to be prepared, and the main objective should be to survive this robbery and not prevent it or stop it or catch it, okay? So don't argue, fight. We mentioned that before. Any amount of money is not worth the personal injury. Listen to your own instincts. If something seems wrong about a situation or a person, it probably is. Mentally review as often as possible the actions that you should take if confronted with an emergency, so they become second nature. Keep a spare key in any room in which an employee may be locked after a robbery, and keep a hidden phone or something in case of emergency so you can call for help, police, EMS, whatever may be needed. And the telephone number for the police department, obviously in emergencies you can call 911. And then actively participate in training sessions offered to become thoroughly familiar with the company policies and procedures, and have regular safety meetings and discuss your plan. You know, not everybody's going to know what to do. Some people have a higher level of security awareness. Some people, you know, just kind of blindly go through life, and you know, everybody's a good person, and you know, nothing's ever going to happen. But that's just not the reality. So, you know, talk about what employee demeanor should be during a robbery. Don't resist. How to notify the police and who should notify the police. Have that done, you know, have those things, the numbers ready to go. Even the number 911 sometimes can slip your mind if you're in an elevated circumstance. So have it written down by a phone if need be. And then how to obtain a suspect's description. You know, we tell people a lot of times, just start at the top of the head and go down. You may not remember what color shirt they had on, but the color of their shoes may stand out, or the brand, style of shoe may stand out. You know, you don't know what hair color they have, but you may remember their eye color. You know, it's when you're in a stressful situation, your mind does different things, and so you may not understand it, but it's just the way it works. And we know not everybody's going to remember everything, and people remember things differently. So as time goes on, you may remember something else and that's why we do follow-up visits and calls and things like that. But don't hesitate to call back later or the next day and say, oh, I just remembered, he had, you know, a name printed on the side of his shirt or something like that, and that helps out. If you have alarms, or so I skipped one there. How to obtain a vehicle's description. If there's windows or, you know, they're gone and you feel safe to do so, step out and take a look. You know, they're going to be getting into a car most likely, and if you can get a description of that vehicle, that will help us tremendously. If there's an alarm, how do you activate it? When should you activate it? And when not to activate an alarm. So you don't want to do anything that's going to trigger that person to cause you any harm, okay? Some other burglary tips. The gates I mentioned earlier, consider installing that to protect glass frontage. Front windows and door glass can be laminated with a special material to resist shattering on unlawful entry. Safes, don't leave large amounts of money in the safe overnight. Safe should be positioned in a discreet location, not visible to the outside, and make sure they're secured to the floor. Don't leave valuables in plain sight. Secure your cash registers, ATM machines, electronic devices, vending machines. Anything that you don't want someone to break into or steal something out of. And the roof. Make sure you have, or make sure that any access to the business from the roof, such as a roof hatch or ventilation systems, are secured. Years and years ago at another place, I was working a night shift and we kept getting an alarm go off at a pawn shop, and it was for movement inside. And we get there and all the doors are secure. You look at the roof, everything's fine, and you know, without crawling up on there. So we notified the business owner that everything looked good, and he said, okay, it's probably just a false alarm. 2 hours later, the alarm goes off again. Movement inside. So sometimes, you know, if you have things that aren't secure, a lot of businesses will have balloons or things in there. When the AC kicks on, they'll move around. Sometimes that can set off a motion sensor. So we chalk it up to that. The fourth time we get this alarm, I'm like, you may want to come out here and let's open up and take a look at this. So as soon as we got inside, and this was an old style home that had been converted to a business. So it wasn't sheetrock walls, it wasn't sheetrock ceiling. It was a thick, solid wood ceiling in this building. So where these air conditioner vents were coming through, each register was about a 12-inch wide opening. We found it laying on the ground. We found the burglar inside the building. He had crawled through a ventilation system in the roof, squeezed in through that little opening, got into the business, and then he couldn't get out. So we were able to catch him. But so, you know, there's a good explanation for why an alarm can go off in the middle of the night, and you know, 99% of them turn out to be false, but there's always that one chance that there's something going on. So a little bit of due diligence. But it's good to have a good alarm. It's good to have video surveillance systems. It's good to have secure doors, secure ceilings. What they needed was a secure, you know, they had the old style little whirly bird type vents on the attic. So that's how you got in. You pulled that off, got inside, was able to set it back up so it kind of looked okay. And from the outside looking in, there was nothing wrong. So know where your police stations are. You know, so if you feel like someone's following you or whatever the case may be, just, you know, call 911, call the police, or drive to that location. You never know what's going to happen. Write down any license plate number of any suspicious vehicle if you see them following you or something like that. It's better that you have it in the event something happened. But if you don't need it, you can always throw it away later. And then merchants are sometimes followed back to their businesses. That was one of our jugging cases. We had a business owner had been in Houston, stopped by the bank, did some business, went to another business, stopped off, and when he walked out, he saw a vehicle parked real close to his, and he was a little suspicious of it, but chalked it up to coincidence and got in his car, and there was a guy sitting in the vehicle next to him, and he just kind of watched him and kept on going, ended up driving up to his business, and as he's walking in, somebody grabbed his backpack from behind, jerked the backpack off of his shoulder, which had the money in it that he had taken out of the bank. And luckily that, some bystanders there were able to hold that guy up enough that we were able to get him in custody. But it could go very differently. It could be, if you fight back like that, you never know what's going to happen. So just be aware of your surroundings and things like that. And just a little quick drawing, I pulled this off the internet, but it kind of gives a visual description of things we talked about. Alarm systems, your safes being secure, bolted to the floor, roof openings, whether it's a skylight or an air conditioner venting system or an attic vent or something like that. If you have a ladder just standing up behind your business, get that down, store it away. Don't help them get in. Make sure you got good lighting. Check all your windows, make sure they're locked if you can. Put some sort of security feature on that. Empty your cash registers if you can, leave them open to prevent unnecessary damage. And if you have video systems, good time of year to check on all that. Make sure all this stuff's working up to date, your alarm's up to date, and good commercial grade locks and hinges on your doors. And I put this note on the bottom, have a good key holder. Whoever that you assign that can respond, relatively quickly to come out and open up, and we can check things out if need be, is an important feature there. So I just threw some things on here, about the cameras. We talked about that already. We've put some things on our social media. We're getting some LPR, that stands for automated license plate reader cameras. You'll start seeing some of those coming up, going up around town. What that does is simply takes a picture. So whenever something happens, we can go back and review those in certain areas, and we're able to get the license plates off of that, and then we can conduct our investigation just like any other witness would have reported a license plate to. So you'll see some of those going up, but we've also had some apartment complexes reach out and ask about that. Homeowners associations for their neighborhoods and businesses. And I mentioned Home Depot because they're one of the ones that, at least in this region, that all of their Houston area businesses have a license plate reader at the entrances. So that's good information to have. And so those license plate readers, if we're participating in that system, if we get a license plate number from any witness here in town and we're looking, we can plug that into that system and find that on the nationwide network where that car is going. So that helps us to track where these suspects are going, where they're coming from, identify potential accomplices or unknown suspects. So some of our neighboring, or one of our neighboring cities has always given themselves the title of safest city, and they have tons and tons of license plate reader cameras over there, and I mean, they really truly are, and that's kind of a vision that I have for the city of Sealy. I want to be the safest city known here in our area. So if you have any questions about that, I won't get all into the technology, but we're available anytime. If you want to ask questions, I can put you in touch with the right people. So you may also see in the future some live view cameras, things like that. We're looking at getting some of those for the parks and things like that. That helps. The technology on these cameras is great. It'll detect if there's a person walking in the area. You can get these, at your businesses too. It'll detect if it's a person, and then it's your job or our job, whoever owns the camera, to determine if that person's supposed to be there or not. And so our parks close at a certain time, so anything after 11, it'll notify us. So that helps out quite a bit. I'll open up to questions, but I will mention that our police cars have some of these license plate readers on them, and recently we were able to, we got an alert. We passed a vehicle on the interstate that gave us an alert that there was a missing teenager associated with that license plate, and our officer made a stop on the car, and we were able to get 13-year-old teenager reunited with his family out of south of San Antonio somewhere. So, missing amber alerts, silver alerts, things like that, all those things come through the camera system and it works out. And we're already seeing these type of successes. So, does anybody have any questions? I know I kind of got a little long-winded, but. Again, if you think of something or you have some questions, or if your business wants some sort of talk, I'll try to tailor it down to what your needs are. We'd be happy to come out and visit with y'all individually and answer any questions specifically you may have. Thank y'all for your time.